Hello, I'm Kathy Gregory. I'm a partner at Lookahead Advisory located in Oregon. We offer a wide range of financial management services for small businesses and small business owners. But one area we've been fortunate to grow in the last few years is in supporting tribal businesses in growing their economic development. Today, we are fortunate, and I'm really grateful to have members and leaders of Gray Snow Management and the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska here to share a bit about their stories of growth, the problems they were looking to solve and did solve, and the new problems they have ahead, and how we've been able to work with them to accomplish some of that. Thanks so much, David and Chairman Rhodd, for joining. I want to give you a chance to introduce yourselves and let the folks know who you are. Can we start with David?
I'm David Tam. I'm the CEO of Great Snow Management Solutions. We are wholly owned by the Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska. And I've had the fortunate opportunity to work on a lot of the economic development efforts of the Iowa Tribe and have worked closely with Chairman Tim Rhodd.
Thanks for being here, Chairman Rhodd.
Thanks for the invite, Kathy. Thanks, David. Chairman Tim Rhodd. I've been serving in leadership capacity since 2007 for the Iowa Tribe of Kansas, Nebraska. A lot of ag initiatives and economic development opportunities, and just trying to develop that tribal economy that our member and our community needs to diversify our operations. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, and thank you so much for your time. I know all of our times are precious. Yours is very precious, and we really appreciate it. So, Chairman Rhodd, what we want to do here is just share the story of the problems you were looking to solve for the tribe in growing the economic development business, and then, leading to the need to have better financial management and all of that. So let's just start with when you envisioned the need for an economic development set of businesses. Can you describe that? What led you to that decision and how you worked to develop Gray Snow and work with David?
Boy, was it a journey. But yeah, there's a lot of things that come into play that, myself as a leader and our team it was hindsight, right? There's things that we didn't expect. And one of those is the accounting piece of it, having a platform that's capable of capturing all of the real-time data, but also the forecasting aspect of it, and making sure that every dollar we are spending is in a good way and it's going to circle through those 7 generations, as we're all taught in Indian country. So that was one of the hindsight for me. We did have a accounting department for the tribe, but first off, we had to keep separation. The start of that journey was getting the businesses separated out from underneath the direct tribal leadership, because it's hard in Indian country to run a business and ask those same people, those members, to vote for you at the upcoming election. It's challenging, but that's what we've done. We completely separated the economic development arm, Gray Snow Management Solutions, from the tribal government, and strategically put in a 5-year plan with David. David Tam was hired at that time to develop the strategic 5-year plan through the SEDS funding. And it just started evolving from there. We really would not have been as successful as we have been if we didn't have the right tools in our toolbox. And one big piece is the accounting aspect of it, making sure that those dollars are spent wisely for the 7 generations and continue to circle back to us, and all while providing workforce opportunities that are better paying, because we live in Indian country. We have all these low-income programs, such as our commodity program, our food distribution program, our housing programs are all low income. We've got to get out of that as tribes, and by diversification and separation of the government and strategically aligning the tribe with efforts that the community and the reservation needs, and using those tools along the way to help you make those good, solid, sound decisions on how to move forward instead of just shooting in the dark, so to speak.
Yeah. That is how we first got started with you all, was in doing business planning. And I wonder if David I'd love to hear from David a little bit. When he first reached out to us to say, hey, we definitely have a strategic plan in place. We have goals, visions, and we know we need accounting, but we need to start with some planning. And so we did start by building business plans first. David, could you share a little bit, walk us through what it was like to start with the Iowa Tribe and helping them build a foundation of grace, just that piece of understanding you needed business planning before jumping straight into accounting?
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. I first came on as a consultant and kind of worked my way through it, helped them write their plan. A lot of this stuff was talking about how our business structure is done, what is separation of government between and economic development, and ultimately the tribe's goals. What are we trying to achieve for the next 7 generations? And how can we make the biggest impact to this community in the most effective and efficient way? And by looking at learning some of the practices that were done the tribe then and how they were being, how they could affect and sort of decision-making process that we had from an economic development standpoint, it was really important for me to merge those two together in the most effective fashion. And I felt that, hey, we always have a lot of ideas, right? So us as economic development people, we always ideas like, hey, let's do this business or that business. So this idea came to me or someone talked to me about whatever it may be. And, those are easily to come by, but to identify what is really mission aligned that has the values of the tribe, lines of the culture of the tribe, really, like Chairman Rhodd says, where's the next 7 generations going to go? It's about how to weed out that noise and then really identify what's feasible, something we can actually build upon based on the skills, the region, just kind of the variables of any business. Does that make sense, right? And so that's really where I kind of said, look, any business that we're going to do, you want to have a business plan. Because that's the process that really makes us take time to put thought into it and really build something that really does align. And then we can see a 5-year projection of what the business will look like. What are the opportunities that are going to be there? How are we going to build that into what the tribe is already doing, or the assets are already there, or the skill sets are already there? And if not, what are we going to do to build that even further? It was really about an ultimate goal and the vision that Chairman Rhodd had. And not only that, but again, like the mission of the statement here, Grace knows one of the primary missions is to go help support other tribes. So we said, we're going to do a business. It's really going to be about economic development. Is that providing value, bring that value back to the tribe? Is that providing skills that can be applied to people in the community? And not only that, let's take what we've learned, the hard road, the easy road, the wins, the losses. Let's take that to the tribal country, Indian country, and share it with them. And that was really Chairman Rhodd's vision. He came to me and asked me when I first joined on and said, this is the vision that I have. I want to go and help other tribes and raise all those together, not just our own boat. And I said, I can sign on to that mission. I believe that mission as well. And that's how we became aligned. The business plans, the forecasting, the accounting, nothing can work without proper accounting, good advice, good insight from good folks like yourself.
We did. Well, a couple of things that both of you have said tie together and are critical, especially to a multifaceted organization like this. If you're truly trying to plan for 7 generations, then you can't just be running by the seat of your pants and shooting from the hip. You really have to do planning in order to achieve that. The other thing that comes to mind is the ability to pivot when something isn't going to work. The question always is, how do you know it's not going to work? Unless you're doing planning and having really strong accounting to be able to track your plan against what you're really doing, an organization ends up pivoting too late. Gracenote is not just one business, but a family of businesses, 10 plus at this point. And you have pivoted over these years that even that I've been working with you, there have been opportunities that seem right. But in doing strong planning and then looking at actual performance, we've been able to pivot in the right way to keep things growing and moving to support the long-term strategy of the tribe. Do you have any thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
I would agree with that 100%, Kathy. Another key piece is back several years ago when we first started, as we all know, if you don't have a lot of capital in startup, there are struggles. And, one of those struggles was not having a CFO. By utilizing a platform with you, that has saved at that time some dollars in order for us to get a true accurate picture of what the businesses were all doing, instead of having that big, large salary out of the gate to get the specialized skill sets and the expertise to sit in that CFO position. So this is a much cheaper way to get the same result of using this system to analyze, forecast, and make sure that businesses are and will be long-term. There's a point in that time that system will be able to tell us, and we need to pivot, or, maybe it's time to look at something else. So that was a huge thing that I seen, was the savings and still providing the outcome of what a CFO would be doing and be responsible of.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. It works out for all parties. It works out for our clients because they get the exact fractional amount of work that they need in areas that they need it. Some of our clients need a lot more planning and less of other areas. Some of our clients have very complicated accounting because of the types of things they sell or whatever it is they do. And so it's easy to scale those services up and down when you can just be fractional. And to your point, our clients are not having a big payroll hit, for these services. And you're able to get what we think are for expert subject,
Yep. Totally.
David, do you want to talk a little? I'm curious, when you think about this growth, maybe fast forward to now where we have in place all the business plans and explain to the folks that don't know a little bit what that looks like. And then I'd love to hear you talk about it. Right now, we have active business planning for all of your businesses, meaning that we can go anytime and look at financial forecasts by month for the current year and at least 2 years out by month. We do that by tracking projects and sales pipeline, and we're having active conversations with all of the players involved. We're getting into the nuts and bolts of the actual numbers tracked by sales and project contracts. And the accounting is happening at the same time to be accurate in what's happened in the past. We've got the future married to the past. What I'd love to hear you talk about is how you utilize that, either month over month or maybe quarter over quarter, the ways in which you utilize that information to manage the business better.
Yeah, so I think the fractional approach and the forecast and the business plan, all the kind of, it all ties together, right? And I think is that we, from the visionary side of things, we can see what we want to see and hopeful, but you guys, this forecasting numbers help us make some better decision making in real time. Rather than hearing about something maybe 3 months, 4 months, 6 months on the road, we're hearing about it. It's like, hey, this is a concern, or hey, here's an opportunity. But we should be going after this opportunity, but do we have the capital or not? I mean, these are all information that we use. However, it's almost weekly in some of the decision-making process about like, hey, when is it time to pivot? When is it time to capitalize? Does this make sense? Is this the right hire for the right time? And why is it the right hire? These are all variable factors that we are taking and gleaning from the information that your services provide to help us make those decisions. Because I really believe that if you're going to fail hard and fast and then move on to the next, or if you're going to be able to show there's actual traction, then is there a growth and is there a hope? Is it worthwhile to continue investing into a business that may not be revenue generating immediately or not? What are the consequences of that? I think it's invaluable. I see that the service and the accounting, the financing, the CFO all provide, especially with you guys at the fractional level, is invaluable to our operations. I can truly say from the bottom of my heart that our success is really based on what that you guys are doing. Without this financial information and the numbers and the insight that you're providing to us, we'll not be able to make the decisions that we're able to make. And that's really attributed to a lot of our rapid growth and also helping us assess and how to pivot and recover from pivots and really just grow. And I'm not going to say that we're a perfect team or that we're a unflawed company as we've grown, because we have tripped and we have fallen, but without your guys' insight and guidance to be able to give us advice about what to do next and give us some financial information, it helps us make better decisions based on information you are able to provide. So to me, that's an attribute to the success of the company.
Thank you. I always tell people, if you want to feel good about yourself, schedule a call, tell them it's a recording, and then ask the right questions. And you get so much love working with you all. I have a team of people doing lots of things, but for me specifically, one thing I love, and I want to ask you a question in a minute. One thing that I have loved doing over time is watching, David just talked about how the numbers are used week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter for him as a CEO to make smart decisions. The other piece of the information is what we're able to provide the tribe and the general membership. We are talking about businesses that are owned by a tribe that have general members that are the owners. And it's been really fun for me to be able to bring financial information to general counsel meetings and be able to answer questions in real time. Sometimes we don't always know the answers, but at least we know what they're thinking, what they want to know, and we can continue making the reporting better to help them. So what I'd love to hear from you is just what that evolution has been like for you over time as chairman of the tribe. You not only have to oversee the growth of these businesses, but also attend to the questions and concerns and maybe fears and hopes and dreams of the members who are owners. Could you speak to that a little?
And you hit one word there, Kathy, and that's fear, right? It's fear of the unknown. And
Yeah.
I was in a fear of the unknown shortly after COVID, the pandemic had resulted. That's when the workforce started dwindling away and we were losing employees and we weren't able to find employees that had skill sets we need to run a tribal government and a platform and accounting system. So I can tell you the fear of the known for me is those days of hoping and praying because our finances and our accounting system hit rock bottom. And we're still trying to pull out of that on the tribal side today. But what I have experienced is the flip side to that on this system, this tool has been able to allow me to validate and reassure the membership that what we are doing within the economic development space with Gray Snow and the family of businesses, these numbers and that real time data and forecasting and all that we didn't have before. So, I've been somewhat concerned overall as a tribal chairman over everything as a whole. And ultimately, the platform that you brought was a tool that was successful with the implementation, reassuring me that what we're doing is the right thing and the numbers don't lie. And it comes down to transparency, right? And there's still times today where, we're still trying to provide that transparency and understanding of those COVID days and what happened during all of that. So that was the biggest thing for me is at least I knew Gray Snow was in a good financial state. We had something to rely upon instead of just our casino here in our backyard if we didn't pull ourselves out of the issues and the messes that COVID had resulted in. So that's what helped me with the system. And it's the fear of the unknown. That's always the case.
Yes. We find that is true of all of our clients. It's true of any small business owner or leader of businesses that aren't doing planning. Most of them don't do it because they don't even know it's a thing to do. Everybody knows that a business plan is what you should do, but there are degrees of accuracy in business planning and degrees of usefulness, depending on how much you dig in and build those numbers, right? I know that the work we do is to build numbers that are tied to reality, straight down all the way to contract values and real numbers that exist and sales pipeline. That's always the balance. You have to, the same amount that you work with numbers on the books, like backlog and things like from contracts, you have to work with the sales team and get to know those people because the way they think about sales is tied to how we forecast sales. It's a skill set in building forecasting plans that are useful.
Yep.
But anyway, beyond that, it's been a satisfying journey to bring better and better numbers to the members and give them, I don't know if peace of mind goes too far, but at least insight and transparency.
Kathy, I liked where you came in and you mentored, the folks and you brought them up to
That was
speed,
fun.
the online training sessions that you're providing to the overall general membership as well. That's important. It's one thing that the tribe has these tools and is successful in a way, but we also have our members that have businesses and are entrepreneurs that need these tools too. So those training session, educational sessions, those are important. And, I know that has brought value to the Iowa tribe and the membership. I've heard from several of those that have attended and they appreciate it because that's information and tools and education that they've never received before. It's the full circle approach. It's not just the numbers, the forecasting, the business plans, all of that. The full circle approach is getting everybody trained and educated along with building businesses as well. That's the long-term success of the way the tribe will be successful is making sure that we provide that education.
Thank you for mentioning that. For those who didn't know, we did do it was an 8-month, maybe 7-month series in building business plans and using your numbers to manage your business better. And it even went all the way through to tax planning and wealth management for small business owners that need to be thinking that way. So we did bring our range of services to that education. It was great. And, David mentioned when he was speaking about how, part of the mission for Gray Snow is not just to bring dollars and profit to the tribe, but to bring workforce development and things too. And when we signed on to work with Grace, and we took that to heart at Lookahead, we would like to participate in that thought process and do what we can. And so we find that as we learn and work with other tribes, that is through all
It's
tribes.
common. Yep.
Yeah, and we're learning how important that is. It's been really fun for us to figure out how can we and spread knowledge to tribal members that need it as part of what we do, as a regular part of what we do. So that's been really fun. Now looking ahead, so we've talked about how you got here and the benefit of that. Looking ahead 3, 5, 6 years, what do you hope changes, or what do you hope can grow out of the work that we're doing now? David, can you talk about, here's something concrete you can talk about. We talked about pivoting and about how you've been able to pivot as you've learned things through business input and the numbers. Now looking out, I know you've got a couple new businesses in the works, or a couple new JVs and things in the works that will hopefully grow. You've got some nice steady state. If you could look 3 years out, I think what you would say is that you look forward to those JVs being revenue generating entities that are growing and maybe adding to that. Could you talk about that a little bit? Like your vision for how these businesses are growing?
The way we run things and we look at our forecasting to the future is really about what is needed for Indian country as a whole, right? And so we know that, for example, I can tell you that I'm a strong believer that water infrastructure is going to be something. A lot of rural communities, tribal communities, aging infrastructure, water distribution is affecting health, right? This is kind of why I'm on the broadband space, I'm going to energy space. It's really looking at how can we support tribes to become more sovereign and become more of a place that's equilibrium, meaning that they're not left decades behind as far as infrastructure or technology. We need to bring it to be current. We need to level that playing field. And today with technology, we can do that. So when you look at businesses going forward, where's their need today? Where's it going to be tomorrow? What makes the most sense? What's the best type of a structural arrangement? Is it training people? Is it joint venturing? Is it acquiring? There's a lot of ways to grow businesses, but you have to do it in a smart fashion. And that's where business planning makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
And it's about having trusted advisors that can guide us. Because in my role, every day I have that fear. The business in the right direction. Are we doing well here? But having your team and giving us the real numbers in real time alleviates a lot of that anxiety and that concern, because I know that I have trusted advisors that are there at my side to help make those decisions or talk me off of a ledge. Like, this is probably not a great idea, or it's a great hire, whatever it may be. So it's really going to be about steady growth. It's not about trying to expand into all these different areas and going beyond what you can really do. It's about utilizing skills, relationships, and opportunities that are going to be helpful to the tribe. And not only for our tribe, but for other tribes as well. So it's really about how we get the best value. It's about the growth of people who believe in the mission. I believe that, yes, our companies are doing well and will continue to do well, but it's about hiring the right people like yourself and others, a part of your team, that are very much mission aligned with the goal. Because there are people who are just out there for money grab, that's their prerogative. But we here at Grace know we're about helping other tribes, helping tribal members, and help Indian countries as a whole. And if we can do that and make money at the same time and helping everyone, that's great. But it's not about just trying to take a bunch of money from the federal contracting world and trying to be a federal entity and that's all we chase. That doesn't help all tribal countries. That doesn't help everybody. And so that's really about it's about finding the right people that are mission aligned, to understand the value, understand the goals of the company, and help us execute it well. That's really what we're going to be doing, I believe, in the next 3 to 5 years. And, none of it would be possible without having our ear to the ground, being in conversations, understanding the finance world, especially for the changing political landscape, talking about grant funding, maybe philanthropic funding. It's important to have our financial team there to help guide us through the best decision-making process to ensure the success of the work that we do.
Thank you for sharing that. I would like to make that a little bit concrete for those who are listening so they understand. It's common to hear CEOs talk about planning and vision, and you're very eloquent in how you talk about it and in being mission driven. What we do to make it really concrete is we are working right beside David the whole time ideas get formulated even a little bit, we are beginning to develop a financial forecast for that in terms of a profit and loss and a balance sheet and a cash flow, really all of it. Even though the pieces are pretty squishy at first, it doesn't matter. You have to start from there and let the CEO and the tribal leadership see that so they can begin to see how the numbers line up for the things that they have in their heads. So that is work we are always doing and keeping fresh. Chairman Rhodd, I want to ask you about the future too, but I'd also like to combine it with advice you might have for other tribes. I know you think about that even more deeply because you are working to, the mission of Greystone is directly to support other tribes. So I wonder if you would like to share with us a little bit about where you're hoping to grow in the next 3 to 5, or if you want to say 7 years, that would be great. But also what advice you have for tribes who are either struggling with where you were years ago, trying to untangle the economic development piece from the tribe, or just looking to grow their economic development.
Sure. First off, it's not easy turning something from nothing to something, right? So, and like we talked about planning and forecasting. Planning is the biggest part of it. If you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going to go. I use the phrase as a roadmap. Once we create the internal roadmaps, the whole team knows where we're wanting to be as a tribe, at a community, and they won't take wrong turns and go down the wrong path. If I can provide some insight for tribes, it's start with clear planning. Know what your community needs. We've done needs assessments. There's all sorts of tools and different things that you can put out there to identify your strategic path of moving forward, if it's in economic development or entrepreneurship or whatnot. But I think as a tribe, you've got to, number one, find out what the need is and identify your strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities are at. We've done that as well. And just keep using those roadmaps as a guiding path for you to follow. Back to education, you've got to educate the team. You've got to educate, number one, your tribal council, number two, your community and your general membership, because if you don't have the support from them, we went from being a small tribe in southeast Nebraska, northeast Kansas that borders the Missouri River with a small gaming facility and a farming operation. At the time, I complained where the federal government placed us because we're in the middle of a cornfield and most tribes are focused on gaming and revenue. It's been a challenge for us to get people off of those major roadways to come over to generate the dollars to where we can take those dollars and diversify the operation so we're not solely relying upon one entity. And that's the biggest thing is, you don't want to keep all your eggs in one basket, but it does start with a plan. It does start with roadmaps and making sure that you have, like David and Kathy said, those trusted relationships and partners that believe in what you're trying to build and are able to execute. And once your team is there and they have the roadmap, it's a clear path forward for them to go. So the next 3 to 7 years, we're going to see a lot of growth amongst the Iowa tribe and Gray Snow, but not only there, but our community. I'm remote. We're in the middle of a cornfield, 20, 30 minutes away from a grocery store, 45 minutes away from a large city. We can't look at that negative as I did in the past of where we're placed. We look at the opportunities that we have in front of us and the needs of the community and the people. And once we start putting those plans and those people in to execute, it'll all come together as it has with us. And once you've made it, it's going to continue to grow even more. And it's win-win-wins. David's always hearing me say win-win-wins. It's not just win-win. It's everybody that we want to work with has to meet the same values and mindsets that we're trying to set these goals in developing this tribal economy. I value those relationships and bringing that expertise to the table and sharing the expense and sharing the profits of that. And, at the end of the day, once you get through all of your planning and get your general counsel and tribal council on board and they understand which way you're going, I refer to the team that we look at life as a needle and each one as a compass. A lot of the team members live by those words. I tell them that sometimes our goal is to keep that needle turned north, but sometimes it's going to go northeast, northwest. That's okay, right? That's where this financial accounting system has been able to allow us to pivot in those times to make sure that we are moving forward in the best way that we can for not only our tribe, our community, but all tribes across the nation. And we've got a turnkey model that we're willing to help other tribes bring the same opportunities to their communities. That's where we all succeed, when we all work together for the greater good. Once those tribes are connected and get their plans in place, there's opportunities for all of us to think of the intertribal trade with just connecting all those tribes together and providing a model that's going to work for them similar to ours. There's room for everybody. One thing that I know David and the team will do is work with any tribe that wants the help. And it's not we telling them what to do. It's them telling us what they want to do, and then us providing the tools and roadmap to move forward so they can make it to their successful point. So never give up. It's challenging. It's a hard road, but it's all will be rewarding down years from now. So, and that's what we're here to build for the future generations. I've been fortunate to build upon previous leaders' successes, and I couldn't do that without a solid team, a solid CEO that believed in the mission, and the accounting team. That would be my recommendation. Go slow, one step at a time, plan, and it doesn't hurt to ask for help. At one point, I wanted to do all this on my own, and the Iowa tribe was going to do all of it, but we don't have to do that. What I've learned throughout this journey is we can structure all tribes in a way where we're all successful and keeping those dollars in that circle of the 7 generations. Never give up.
Isn't that first of all, everything you said was just beautiful. And especially at the end, isn't that the growth of every leader? What you said at the very end is, I want to do it all, but then I realized I don't have to do that. To me, every leader experiences that at least once in their life, if not multiple. It's what makes you a better leader.
I've been given this honor and bestowed. I'm an outsider, right? I'm a Chinese American. I'm not Native American, but I saw the vision, saw the path, and said, hey, we want to support other tribes, right? He was the visionary that said, if any tribe wants help, then we'll help them. And from day one, we're talking about workforce development. These are all things that we combine together to create to what is today. Every project that we do has a workforce development component to that, because you're not able to maintain your own infrastructure or maintain your own business. And all this came down to the fact that it's based on trust. Trust is something that I find very valuable. I think it's important for any organization, especially in your leadership. Sharon Rhodd took a chance and said, I'm going to bestow this trust upon you to deliver this ask of you that I have, this grand vision that I have. And I take that trust and the honor very seriously. And that's why I've always been respectful about how we approach things. Like Sharon Rhodd said, our bench is, their bench. We're not here to take over a project. We're to help support their project, support their efforts. Tell us what they want. We'll figure that out together. That's the work that we've done with the Iowa tribe all this time. And that's really important, because you have to be able to gain their trust, understand the culture, understand the uniqueness of that tribe, because not every tribe is the same, right? And everything that we're doing is that we want to help other tribes keep those dollars in their community, help them grow economically, help them build skills, and then be able to, in order to do any of this work, though, we have to be able to alleviate that fear of behind us saying, do we have enough money in the account? Are we making the right financial decisions at the end of the day? Is this costing enough? Do we finance it? These are all such critical pieces in a part of the planning phase. And I think that that's why with Grace Note, every entity that we have, again, like you said, it's all kind of business plan and forecasting. This is why I was adding to the fact of what should tribes be doing. Tribes should be taking a real serious look about how they approach business. This is not something how to go and hope for the best. This is a very strategic approach about what we do, why we do it, and why should other tribes be following along? If tribes want to take our advice and do it themselves, more power to them. But the fact is that all tribal nations should be pushing towards sovereignty. And if you really want to go toward this path of sovereignty, you have to know what path to take. And that forecast and planning is really going to be important, because you have to plan for that journey appropriately if you want to be successful.
Absolutely.
That's like a mic drop, I think. And I can tie that all the way back to the work that we do in line with that. In the same way, David, that you're saying you take the trust very seriously and the mission of the tribe very seriously, and it drives everything that you do. That flows all the way down to us. We do too. Every client that we work with is different. They all are after something different with their business, but we know with tribes, they're after a lot more because at the end of the day, they're after sovereignty. And then within that is whatever specific goals they have. And we take the work that we do and the trust that's given to us very seriously and with grace. And it has just been our absolute pleasure to work with you all. So I just want to thank you for your time. Hopefully we've shared some insights for folks, and hopefully folks listening to this might be able to see some of the things they're trying to do in this. And please reach out to us, to any of us, if you have questions about this work or about directions you might want to be taking. We're all happy to answer your questions.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? There's always hope. That's what this world, I think, that's what I have is hope. What we've been doing is creating themselves and setting themselves to not be self-reliant and not reliant on government programs, low-income housing, or all of those things. That's the case with Indian country. There are times where this tribe has been taken advantage of, and other tribes, it's a once and done type of deal, and they go back home and we're stuck with the messes, and a lot of tribes get taken advantage of. So it's critical to find the trusted sources, and that's one of the reasons that we've made it as far as we have, is just having that trust. Because if you don't, there's no way to get the momentum moving forward or the ball rolling. When David said, he's Asian, so I've been ridiculed a little bit by my membership just by hiring a non-native tribal member. But that's not where we were at the time, and that's what every tribe needs to kind of learn and decide through all of their planning, the workforce and all of the planning, and who's going to do all of that work. It's one thing to have a solid plan in place, but a good plan goes nowhere without a trusted source and good quality employees with the education and skill sets of what we're trying to build moving forward. So David said, in order to achieve long-term success, it all comes with education. And it's just providing more tools to the members to add to their tool belt. And it's very concerning, like right now, my father is getting older and his health is diminishing, and he's talking about retiring, and he's heavy equipment operator. So we think about that, 30 to 50 years of this skill set that is gone. And there's a lot of people that are retiring with those skill sets. So looking forward, that 7 generations, who is going to be able to pour concrete? Who's going to be able to run that excavator to lift that pole up, to set the pole in the right spot? That's where it's important to, when you're planning, that you incorporate the education and the workforce development and the training. Without that, you'll never be long-term. And that's the only way to make it, is to internally uplift your community and your membership and provide those tools to them so they can.
That is such great advice. Would either of you like to say any last words before we finish?
I'll just kind of say the last point that I'll make. And first, I'm honored that you've asked to interview us as a part of your work. You work great with the team. Everybody loves you, and you bring an unbiased approach to things. I think that's really kind of what a lot of they need to hear the fact that I do not believe that we could be as successful as we are today without a good, strong financial backbone and a team like Lookahead Life brings to the table. So everything you guys have gone above and beyond, and we couldn't say enough great things about the work that you're doing. This is not a paid sponsor by all means, but
Keep going, David. Keep on going.
So it's really true that I think in order to have successful as a team, you really need to have a big, strong financial backing. Because if you don't have a good financial backbone and infrastructure in place, it's really, really difficult. I believe that the financing is really the backbone of any operation. So if people out there are considering, creating a stronger financial system and financial team in place, I would definitely recommend that they definitely give you guys a call and talk to you more, because I can also enough to think about you, the team, your responsiveness, your flexibility, and just the mere fact that we know that we can trust you guys always do the right thing. We sincerely appreciate that.
Thanks. It's our pleasure.
And, from the travel aspect, there's other opportunities that Kathy, we're talking about of trying to bring this into other areas of the tribe as well. So that's going to help us a lot, especially with the on-res businesses. So there's a lot of heavy lifting there, and I would love to use the same platform for them, because I've seen the results that it's provided to Gray Snow Management Solutions, and It's like David said, it's very helpful, and we're able to sleep at night not worrying about if we are making money or if we're losing money or if we're doing this the right way. For me, I'm trying to find ways to bring this platform into other areas of the tribe to streamline some of the accounting and also look at forecasting projections and all of those things too.
Thank you both so much for your time. I know how precious your time is, and I just really appreciate it. Thanks so
I
much.
thank you, Kathy, for the invite, and thank you for your services and the reassurances that you provide.